Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to the first quarter summary of the top selling master plans. I'm Tim Sullivan, the Chief Advisory Officer at Zonda. I'm accompanied by my longtime friend, cohort, and partner, Mollie Carmichael, and I will introduce her appropriately in a moment. But first, wanted to give you a sense of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through a couple of things briefly about how our organization is shifting, and then I'll introduce Mollie, and she'll dive deeply into this methodology. It's really cool stuff, guys, and you're going to see some great visuals. And we'll talk about the end of 2023 and beginning of 2024 top master plans. Mollie likes to call it a horse race. We have some pretty big, fast horses in there, but we also have some newbies that are moving. So notice that. And then Mollie will also talk a little bit about the top three master plans by region. Now, before we begin, we want to make sure that you know the recording will be available to you. We always listen to questions, so please send any our way. And we've got a quick exit survey at the end to see if there's anything else we can follow up and help you with. So please let us know. And we are very pleased today to say thank you to the Propane Education Research Council. Many of you might know Ms. Perk. We like to say the full name, much as my mom would when I'm in trouble. They're not in trouble. They keep us out of trouble. But I think you guys know what propane is. But the thing that is, I think, most amazing about it is that it's a clean source of energy. And it can be stored on site. The builders have control over it, so do the homeowners. And ultimately, it's independent of the natural gas lines and electric grid, which in nowadays terms makes a big difference. And here's a really cool visual that they put together, just showing some of the benefits. Look at the upper right, 22 million miles driven by the average gasoline powered vehicle, and that consumed 990 gallons of gas. Holy cow. So there is an advantage here. And look at the left-hand side of the graphic. I mean, if you really pay attention, the Propane Council has eliminated more than 19 pounds of carbon dioxide. So a shout out to the Propane Education Research Council. Thank you for being our partners. We appreciate you guys greatly. Now, as we move into this, a little bit about us. The thing with our organization is that we're constantly evolving, and our advisory team, led by the people you see on the right-hand side, Todd Tombolak, Mollie, who you heard from in a second, Kimberly on the multifamily side, and the one and only Ali Wolf, chief economist. We're constantly trying to find the new answers to what matters and reach out if we can help you in any of these elements. We're looking at expansion plans, and we're doing a huge amount of work in land banking, and we work on the M&A side, valuing land. So reach out if we can help you, because that's what we're here for. Another really cool thing that we've been curating for a couple of years now is the future place element. And it's not just the future of master plan communities. We're looking into the future of placemaking. And that includes the small spaces, just the micro space that you're living in, and then the macro space of planned communities. Please join us. It'll be at the Ritz in Las Colinas. And we also are happy to share with you guys a market overview. If there's a market you're looking at and you're sniffing it, just request the snapshot by hitting the QR code, and we'll send you a free snapshot. You can choose from one of the 65 top CBSAs, and it would be our pleasure to share that. Furthermore, some big news for us that isn't so much news now because it's been a couple of months. Zonda and BDX have joined forces, and we're combining livable and new home source. And the simple thing is we're focusing on simplifying the shopping journey for consumers and home builders, because we're putting together our data and tech with the new home source platform. So stay tuned on this one, but we look at it as a game changer for both home buyers and home builders. We're trying to make a frictionless process. Also, check into our national outlook. If you're familiar with the housing market overview, the HMU that Ali and I were doing for over 4 years since COVID, we have now set that up as a subscription product. And it's unbelievably insightful because we're adding a whole bunch of stuff. It's not just what we covered in the HMU, but there's written summaries of important things that are happening in the markets nationwide. So please check that out, reach out to one of us at Zonda, and we will get you set up. All right. So Mollie, here we go. We're going to dive into the methodology. This is where I'll hand the reins over to Mollie, and she'll lead the charge. And I think if you're listening today, you know who Mollie is, but let me highlight a couple things about Mollie that I think are unusual and pretty wonderful. In my opinion, she is probably the best product person. You say product, Tim, you mean like, identifying floor plans? Yes, but more importantly, it's connecting a consumer to the place they live and then building around that. And she's been a home builder, she's been a land developer, she's worked as a consultant for many, many years. But the thing that I think she can translate so well with the data that we have and her experience is that she's a visual artist and ultimately can help create the right places, understanding the drivers for place and person. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Mollie Carmichael. Mollie, please take it away.
Thanks, Tim. As always, I appreciate your introductions. So we're going to dive in today, and I always like to start with the methodology because it's a little bit different than the rest of sort of the groups out there that are tracking master plan. We are going to show you top sales activity, but we're really looking at top performance. And as Tim mentioned, I'm constantly looking at not only product types, master plan, but what I'm looking at is how to make the highest profit, highest revenue, and all of that for these different master plan developers. And that really takes into account more than sales, right? Because sales can cancel. So we're looking at deliveries, we're looking at sales, and we're looking at closings all together to look at how and where and why are these top master plans performing and who's doing it best. So that's really our methodology. So again, looking at that, sales, starts, and closings really represent true performance for a master plan developer. Again, we will address sales specifically as well. But really, when we look at this, we have to look at all those components if we're looking at who's really winning that horse race, as Tim mentioned. So again, we look at multiple ways on how we actually get sales reported. So we do look at a lot of the data that's reported from project level, then rolled up to master plan. We then double validate it by checking in with the MPC developers to confirm their sales starts and closings. Where starts and closings are available, we can get that, but we do all of that too, both digitally. And as you guys know, we do a lot of that with a lot of our technologies that we have within the company. So as we go into the top master plans, let's first compare. Now in January, Tim and I came together with you guys and shared the top sales activity because at year end, that's really all we could track. That's what most of our competitors do is top sales. But now we actually have all of the data. We'll show you starts, closings, and sales and truly highlight who those top performers were through to the end of 2023. And then we're going to go into quarter one, top sales, and then again, top performers as well, and check out where the horse race is today. So as we look at 2023 and we look at the sales performance, which we highlighted, and we've got this through to the top 100, which we refer to as MPC 100, you can see the top 10 there on the right as it relates to sales. When we take into account starts and closings, and I'll show you those numbers, does it change? It does change a little bit, and you can actually see the differences as we look at the top three. They're exactly the same. The fourth comes in for Summerlin. But as we get into the remaining ones, that's where you start to see some shifts. So Cadence comes into number 5, then comes in Bridgeland, then comes in Welland Park, which shifts higher up, and then Silverado and Ontario Ranch. One of the master plans that falls off is Babcock Ranch, and we're going to look at really specifically why. You can see a lot of those master plans, though, sit there in the West. The largest growing markets are Texas and Florida, not just because of the geographic region, but realistically, where a lot of the population growth is just going to, largely due to affordability. And you're going to see a common theme amongst affordability as we look at all of these master plans as to who's winning. So as you look to sales, starts, and closings, why do some of those start to shift, right? So you'll see a high number of closings, for example, for Babcock Ranch, but a much lower number of starts in relationship to some of those other master plans. So that's what really sort of pulls them down. But truly, the top 10 are really those top performers. As you look at sales versus starts, this is really interesting. So when we look at the relationship of how many are outselling their starts, you can see markets like Santa Rita Ranch, Silverleaf, Great Park neighborhoods, they're selling so fast, and starts are not keeping up. And where we're seeing actually more starts versus sales, you can see a lot of those are in the supply driven markets, very affordable markets like Texas, Florida, and so forth when we look at 2023. Now, the reality is they're starting more homes than they're selling, but it is where a lot of the absorption is. And so they're sort of planning for the future, if you will. Now, let's look at the first quarter of 2024. I'm going to start out with a little bit just kind of a high level overview as we look at the health of the market and some migration trends and population growth, and then I'll give you those answers as we dive right in. So, when we look at the April 2024 market ranking, it is overwhelming how green this slide is, and the market did very well in the first quarter. And if you're listening to all the stuff that Allie and Tim are talking about, they're giving you all the details and the why. First quarter is traditionally strong, as you guys know, amongst all of the four quarters, but we had a very strong first quarter, and you're going to see specifically where, and it's crazy. So the East is clearly still outperforming the West. The Midwest is completely back. You'll see in the last quarter, Minneapolis, for example, was slightly underperforming. Utah, Colorado, Northern California, they're still average or underperforming. And these are markets that actually, I think, pricing got a little bit ahead of where the market was. And so they're still sort of rebalancing, just given how high some of the prices really pushed in the Utah market and the Denver market. So when we look at the comparison between the two, you can see the big differences. Look at Seattle and Portland, Utah, Denver. Northern California is a little bit less red. But again, we're seeing some overall balancing. And then looking at some of all those yellows that were just average now turning very solidly green. And when we look at the markets that some of the top master plans fell into, and you'll see these here very shortly, Las Vegas, Austin, Houston, Sacramento, the Inland Empire. Look at some of those sales numbers year over year. We're seeing really big percentages in markets like Las Vegas, Austin, Houston, well over double digits. So let's look at the first quarter sales and how that horse race comes in. The Village is clearly number one. They continue to provide very affordable, active adult housing solutions. And, it's hard to beat. It's a fantastic lifestyle. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Lakewood Ranch is clearly number two. And then it's number three, all the way to 10 that get much closer in this horse race. So it'll be interesting to watch this over the next several quarters. If you look at overall population growth and migration, it really does tie with where a lot of these master plans are growing. And, you can see that correlation between clearly Texas and Florida with population growth on the left, and then just truly looking at domestic migration on the right. The Southeast, Florida, and Texas are going to continue to be huge drivers today and in the future. When we look at overall, again, year in 2023, we look at top performers by comparison to quarter one. How are they different? Well, you'll see, look at Weldon Park climb up to number three. Sunterra actually drops a little bit. Hayden stays solidly in number five. Summerlin drops down a little bit to number six. Babcock, Ontario Ranch, back up to 7 and 8. Ridgeland drops down just a little bit. And then Tamarron into the number 10 and takes 10 for this race for the first quarter. How did they get there? You can see overall sales starts and closings. Starts came back up. So again, remember year end for Babcock actually fell. Starts kicked right back in that first quarter, and that brings them back into number 7 as one of the top performers. So you can start to see how some of these begin to change and how those rankings begin to shift as well. Overall, when we look at top sales for first quarter, we can look at our champions here for number 1 through 10. Again, you've got Villages and Lakewood Ranch and number 1 and 2 solidly, followed then by Cadence, Sunterra. Summerlin moves to number 5, Tamarron, Welland Park, Bridgeland, Silverleaf, and Babcock Ranch takes number 10. And so by comparison, you'll see some movement. Babcock's a little bit lower in relationship to sales, but when you look at those percentages and you annualize them, we've just had a very strong first quarter. Again, if I took, the 263 and we multiplied that by 3, you start to see numbers similar to what happened in 2023. but we're just seeing very strong sales activity in some of these other markets. So it's really interesting to watch. So overall top performers by comparison, you'll see in quarter one, again, the top two remaining the same with the Villages and Lakewood Ranch, but Welland Park jumped up to number three, as we talked about. Centerra drops down a little bit. Cadence solidly number five. Summerlin is down just a little bit in number six. Babcock climbs up. Ontario Ranch. I feel like I'm actually narrating a horse race here. Bridgeland and Tamaron. So now you can kind of see how they all sit within those markets and really where those top performers are. These ties, so you'll actually see the red ones have actually dropped down. You'll see the green ones have actually climbed up in their ranking, and the yellow are sitting there solidly where they were before. But you can really start to see some of that green performance happening in Southern California, Texas, and Florida. All of these MPCs, while they were performing great already, performing even a little bit better in the first quarter. So the first quarter is looking very good. When we look at the numbers overall by comparison amongst these regions, Florida's taking 40% of the top 25 master plan sales, followed by Texas solidly. One in three is actually in the Texas market. And then the other 30% are really shared amongst California, in Southern Cal, Southwest, and the Southeast. So really interesting. So lots of activity happening in those very affordable West markets, particularly Texas and Florida. Now, where you're seeing a lot of absence, interestingly enough, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in the Midwest, the Northeast, and the Northwest, not just because they're colder states or weather and some of those things, but really, I think where so much of job growth, population growth, and all of that has been coming. And we've been sort of pointing that out all along. When we look at overall the NPCs that have more sales versus starts, this is where you can really see a big difference in quarter one, where look at those numbers. I mean, Folsom Ranch all the way down to Bridgeland, you're going to see that 52% of the master plans are actually selling faster than they can deliver lots. So it's pretty staggering. And when you look at actually the markets down at the bottom, it's the markets with more sales starts are really where more sales versus starts are really where the supply driven markets are. So Texas and Florida are largely those ones on the bottom. Some of it too is we're starting to see some build out too. So once that build out happens, you'll see some of that as well. But it's remarkable to see how robust the first quarter was. So now we're going to go into the top three master plans by region. You know the theory that everyone gets a trophy. I want to make sure we're looking at every region and recognizing some of the stuff that's happening in those different regions, and at least looking at the top three. There's so many different obstacles. And again, being a developer and a builder in my career, just kind of understanding what those obstacles all are. They can't all be Texas and Florida, right? And so we're going to look first though at the market that has the most master plans, and that's going to be Texas. So the top three for Texas: Sunterra, Bridgeland, and Tamaron. We're just going to hit some of the highlights there instead of focusing on the top 10 for the entire country, which we've done a lot on that. Now we're going to look at a little bit as we get into some of these other guys. So overall, you've got about 7,000 homes here. It's mostly detached. It's a very affordable master plan. You'll find in Texas, there's a lot of different master plans that have these great, fantastic water elements, but also really good price points that go with it. So uber fun, pool amenities, water amenities, lazy rivers. Between Florida and Texas, I don't know who has the better water elements there, but lots of stuff oriented around families. And as you look at really the price point that goes with it, it's hard to beat this. I mean, look at the percentage. We're looking at about 80% that are going to have, homes in the 450 or below in this market. And Texas is really kind of changing up some of the diversity. You can see some diverse palettes in architecture, which is becoming a new look and feel, I think, for Texas, which is great. Number two is Bridgeland. This is a very established master plan. It's been there for a long time. It has a lot of villages throughout, a mix of all kinds of different product types here, attached, detached. But again, just a wide variety and a wide choice. I mean, Bridgeland almost feels like its own city to some degree today, but you'll see tons of great amenities sitting here, 25 actively product lines, affordable price points with 20 product lines of the 25 and the three to $400,000 price point. And they're largely sized right where customers want it. When we look at consumer insights, the majority of people want a home under 2,500 square feet. And they provide a lifestyle that's really hard to beat. So whether it's the cute little tree house or the water park or, a great sort of pool complex, there's really a lot there. And again, when you look at the overall segmentation here, you can see the overall variety in what they're doing to actually capture and be in the top three. And the product looks really great. I mean, I love the diversification, a lot of different textures and styles and so forth. So they're really capturing a wide variety of customers here. Now, number three, as we look to Tamron, it's actually in Katy as well. They have almost 8,000 homes planned there today, largely all single family detached, very, very affordable price points here. And once again, lots of really fun family amenities, all oriented to water, but very affordable prices with mostly product in the 300,000s. And again, under 2,500 square feet seems to be really the sweet spot. Very affordable, again, value oriented product, affordable to build so that they're able to offer so many of these homes under the $400,000 price point. So now we're going to dive into Florida, the top three there. They seem to be, particularly the villages in Lakewood Ranch, the talk of the town as it relates to top master plans, starting with the villages, sitting right there in the middle of Florida. It is the most affordable active adult with the most lifestyle you possibly could have there. We've talked a lot about them. Lakewood Ranch, if you came to Future Place last year, and I hope you made it, we were able to hear from Laura Cole and Rex, her supervisor and leader of that entire master plan. So many great things to see, so many different villages and lifestyles throughout, and they have the new things coming around the corner constantly. And then last but not least, number three, Welland Park, a complete renovation, I think, and new retail center sitting around a large body of water, a super cool community. If you haven't seen it, I hope you can get out there and see Welland Park as well. But the villages, everybody knows this story. There's close to 200,000 units planned here. It's been growing for decades. It's been the fastest growing master plan for many years. And just a variety of different home size ranges and price points, largely for the most part under $450,000 in price, but there is a huge variety. So it has a coastal feel, large bodies of water. I mean, it does not feel like it's Central Florida when you get to the villages. The three major town centers, it feels like Disneyland for adults. And so I've covered a lot of this. There's 53 different golf courses. There's three central retail. I think one of their secret ingredients is music every single day at 3 p.m. and dancing that goes with that. Multimodal trails with easy access by golf cart. Most people get around on golf carts. It's all age restricted. And again, very simple offering, very economical, easy to build, and mostly under $400,000 in price.
Hey,
And so you
Molly,
can,
wait for a
yes,
second. You
yeah.
mentioned music. You usually mention one other thing.
Oh, alcohol.
There you go. Okay, just wanted to be,
Yeah.
let's be honest here. Let's be straight.
Yes, that's what gets them dancing, Tim.
Good point.
So,
Carry
great bite. So lots of music, lots of dancing. And if you know the villages, there's so many funny stories around the villages that I love to share. But yes, music, alcohol, dancing, and it's really, I mean, I've had people in tears in focus groups at the villages telling me how much their life has changed for the better because they moved to the villages. So I mean, really a remarkable little town. Lakewood Ranch. Again, there's all kinds of great stuff here. They'll have almost 50,000 homes. So just in perspective, it's about a quarter of the size of the villages, but massive when you compare it to the rest of these master plans. A variety of products, lots of diversification, not only in product or home choices, but really in villages too. So gated to non-gated, golf, water, you name it, near retail centers that are walkable versus, more kind of gated and suburban in feel. but quite a few differences here. There's 19 villages today, 50 different neighborhoods, mostly under $500,000 in price. Their top villages today are Star Farms with 280 sales, largely multi-generational. You've got volume builders like D.R. Horton that had higher sales with towns and smaller detached floor plans. You've got Azario that has bundled golf, resort amenities, a culinary center, and then of course there's 9 new villages coming this year. So a lot of activity there. But check out the number of products they have there. I mean, clearly they should be number two with all the different product offerings. I don't know how Laura does everything that she does, but it's quite remarkable they have as much activity as they have going on here, and it's pretty amazing. When we look at Welland Park, this is one of my favorite master plan stories in a community that, to me, I hate to say it, but back in the day, it was a little eclectic, is probably the best way to describe it. And Rick and his team really came in and redesigned the They're There at Welland Park, and it's pretty fantastic. And it now has this central place that has knitted together this small group of master plans that just make it whole. And today the performance is clearly rising to the top as a result of bringing this all together. They've really done a remarkable job. So total units planned close to 30,000. Attached and detached products. They are everywhere from under 200,000 all the way up over to 1,200,000 today. That's remarkable for this location in town. And when you really look at what they're doing, they've got 29 active product lines today, which is substantially grown. Affordability, like crazy. I mean, pricing under 200,000, which is remarkable. Most of the homes are sized under 2,500. They have a really neat amenity package, and much like Lakewood Ranch and some of these other groups, the individual villages have a character onto themselves, but really it's that central amenity and all the lifestyle activity and all of that stuff that the team has pulled together that really make this place great. And they're like 5 minutes from the ocean. And previously to this great sort of new amenity and all the things they did, it didn't feel like there was much there. And this whole new creation is what makes this a place today. And I think it's changed the entire city. So look at their different product lines. You'll see the majority of it really sits there under that 450 price point, but quite a variety, and prices are moving on up. This looks like a pretty good investment when you look at how much this area has changed over time. So now when you look at Nevada, Nevada, it's interesting to look at Nevada versus the Phoenix market. Now, Nevada has just been a bright shining star really in the Southwest, where Phoenix has kind of underperformed. I can't figure it out. They've always sort of tracked very closely, and Phoenix has not performed like Nevada has. And so when you check out, all three of the master plans in the Southwest are Nevada. So Inspirada, Summerlin, which continues to perform very high, and Cadence, but Cadence ranking at number one. And so when we look at the total units planned overall for Cadence, that has over 15,000, not nearly as many homes, of course, as Summerlin. But when you look at the price points and you look at the product types, part of this is they just have much more affordability here. So overall, the home sizes range are a wide variety. They've got attached and detached, but capping out at just under $750,000 in price. So they've got 24 actively selling product lines, affordable locations. Obviously, people migrating in from California looking for that no tax base or just frankly affordability, period. And then just prices largely under $400,000 for all of their product lines, where Summerlin tends to play in the more premium price points for that Nevada market for a variety of reasons. But two of their product lines are under 2,500 square feet too. So part of it is a size thing here. But when you look at this, it is a very affordable location for the Nevada market with great price points. And again, throw in that no tax rate, and you definitely got a big raise if you move to Las Vegas from California. Looking at number two, Summerlin, again, this is one of my favorite master plans in the country. They do such a great job from an execution perspective, close to 100,000 units planned. So in perspective, almost half the size of the villages, but it's a third of the town. It feels like it's definitely the best location. Sitting in the Las Vegas market, they have a wide variety of villages. They have a wide variety of product types, and certainly look at the price differences. 269,000 all the way up to 3.2 million. So quite a variety, and they have been open for decades. So when we look at really what's going on there, again, multiple villages with 23 neighborhoods. We talked about affordable price points. No difference there, but a much bigger variety and definitely a far more affluent sort of select locations and product types too. Uh, Again, when you look at sort of the raise you get just from the no tax moving from California, the highest income tax state in the country, and it's highly amenitized. I will tell you one of the biggest advantages Summerlin has amongst all of the desert communities is it's green. I've done a lot of customer research here, and what a lot of customers like about Summerlin, look at the picture in the lower left-hand corner, it's green. And that's why so many are attracted to Summerlin, in addition to the Uber amenities and just a great place to live, excellent schools, and it's definitely the A location for the Las Vegas market. When you look at the overall diversity, though, in product type, definitely a much bigger swing as it relates to price points. So you can see, again, a lot of diversity and a lot more products and choices above that $1 million price point. But it's spectacular when you look at some of the choices out there. It's tough to beat. Number 3, we've got Inspirata out in Henderson. Again, another great location to live in. They have about 15,000 total in their master plan. Wide variety of price points, but a little bit higher in comparison to the number 1 Cadence, but still very affordable. 215,000 to $1 million. And when you look at it, strong affordability, mainly prices under 500,000. Again, modest home sizes, mostly everything's under 2,500, and it's growth pushing south into the Las Vegas market. And the southern portion of Las Vegas is just great. But you can see the wide variety of price points. This is definitely a little bit more of an affordable play for sure, and a little bit simpler in products and things like that by comparison to Summerlin for sure. Now let's move into California, the worst in income taxes I can vouch for. But it's really locations where people are seeking a different kind of affordability. And I'm going to say that for all 3 of these master plans, albeit Rancho Mission Viejo is in an A location sitting in Orange County for sure, but all 3 of them are striving to provide affordability to its own location, right? So when we go into Ontario Ranch, I sort of hate the fact, honestly, that Ontario Ranch is called a master plan. Because frankly, it's a lot of villages sold to a lot of builders that are playing developer with a lot of small little mini master plans. Um, and so on this one, it's kind of the land of small lot detached with very affordable choices for the coastal markets that are looking for just something affordable to start with their first home. So that's largely what the Ontario Ranch master plan or villages are. So again, tons of little different villages. Again, I call it the land of small lot detached. There is a master plan there that averages about 15 to the acre, and it's all single family detached and cute. But again, a lot of different little villages by a lot of different developers, largely products under 2,400. So you can see some of the different product types here. You can see, under $1 million in Southern California is a buy, and it's very affordable. And that's really what Ontario Ranch is doing. When we get into Folsom Ranch, this is an affordable location for the Sacramento market that is close to the hub of many, many jobs. And so there's over 10,000 units planned here, almost 11,000, attached, detached, a lot of different product types. And for this location, very affordable. So again, there's a lot of different lifestyle offerings. It's really playing to the Bay Area. So this is sort of like the Ontario Ranch to the Bay Area to some degree, or if you live in Sacramento and you just want a great location close to all of the job centers, it's also serving that too. So easy access to Highway 50, Intel campuses nearby. You've got lots of retail, along Bidwell Avenue. It's really great. And there's 17 of the 21 actively selling communities have floor plans that are 2,500 to meet that affordability. So you can see largely Again, to be under 800,000 in this market, it's a big deal. And most of these are looking under 800,000. Now, Rancho Mission Viejo, it's hard to be affordable in Orange County, but they have really done a great job of not only master plan design and lots of great sort of community elements throughout. The history is a ranch, and there's an agrarian history there, and they've weaved some of that into it. They've also got active adult versus conventional. And one of the things they've done uniquely is mixed in active adult sort of hamlets, if you will, in with conventional hamlets and how they all sort of live and play together. It's been really interesting to see and watch. And it's got a lot more hillside and topography than Orange County typically has as well. So it's a really beautifully done master plan, albeit all at the same time. They've offered an affordability that's really hard to find in Orange County, both for active adult in Orange County and conventional. So when you see price points of 350 to 1,700,000, that seems like a lot, but for Orange County, it's pretty good. So it's somewhere around 10 to 15% lower than central locations like Irvine master plans. Yet it has fantastic amenity packages. It's got a great sort of walking trail throughout. They've really done some neat things with the park, and the amenities just have a kind of an agrarian, almost modern farmhouse feel to it. But again, very attractive price points overall for the Orange County market. So again, these look high, but for Orange County to be able to get active adult under $1 million is pretty great. And so they've done that with a variety of different price points. Lennar's done a great job with several series out there too, from attached to detached. Again, hitting home runs out there. Look at the absorptions. For us to be in a 6 sales rate per month is kind of staggering. Now moving out to the Southeast. So you're going to largely see in the Southeast, you're going to see it really in the Carolinas. So we've got Summers Corner, Cane Bay Plantation, and Old Town. Number one is Summers Corner. It's got almost 8,000 units planned. You can see that the water elements tying into the low country feel out there, which is so charming and so cute. Home sizes under 3,600 square feet. But look at the price points. I mean, you're in the 240 to 535. It's interesting moving from California to then these price points in the Carolinas. Frankly, it's a little depressing for me, but and charming as hell. So again, price points in the 3 to 400,000. Tim, am I allowed to say hell? Sorry about that, guys.
It is
I apologize for that.
it is completely acceptable, but don't do it again. Don't do it again.
Thank you, sir. Anyway, so there's tons of growth going into the Southeast. And I would tell you the Northeast, they travel so much into the Carolinas, into Florida for vacation. We're really starting to see an exodus out of the Northeast coming down to the Southeast and really moving there for affordability and the charm that they've sought there for so many years historically for vacation and things like that. So again, no taxes, all of those things are a great play here. But again, look at these overall. You're going to see largely under 3,000 square feet for the most part, and truly affordable detached solutions. The builder across the board for this one is all 100% Lennar. Number two, Cane Bay Plantation. So they have over 13,000 homes, 4,300 square feet and less, and just up to 620,000 in price. So an affordable price play, but overall you'll see affordable price points are uh, starting at 200,000. There's water everywhere throughout, again, sort of playing into the low country feel. Lower than average cost again. So again, attracting those older buyers as well as family buyers just looking for a great place to live. And look how charming this is, from the architecture to the green, all the stuff that plays into this neighborhood. It's just beautiful throughout. And when we look at the overall segmentation, it's largely 450,000 and below. Coming in at number 3, we have Old Town. Now, this is a new one that we haven't focused on in a lot of our past master plan stuff. They have just over 2,500 homes. So a fairly small master plan, tiny little bodies of water kind of sitting in throughout, detached and attached. And this is actually in the Raleigh market. So we're looking at the high 2s to low 600,000s. Largely a very family market, lots of new employment coming to the Raleigh market, tech's becoming a very big thing or has been for quite some time. Raleigh, most people think of Charlotte as the bigger market, but Raleigh is clearly the bigger market amongst the two of them. And it's kind of on fire. I mean, it's really been doing super well. Now, in this particular location, they're providing affordable housing for a market that's growing very quickly. Product segmentation is attracting a bunch of different life stages, and you'll see it's largely Lennar and Toll Brothers together pushing this whole community forward with the product that they have. You'll see overall largely single family detached across the board. As we get into the Northeast, where it's much harder, more expensive, more difficult, frankly, to do master plans, our top three are Brambleton, one of my favorites, Potomac Shores, another great favorite, and St. Charles. When we look at Brambleton, they have a mix of active adult, conventional products. They took a location that seemed really unusual to push the kind of density that they pushed, and they really pushed it on steroids. They have a great little town center there, and it did really well. A lot of attached and detached, but surprisingly, some really great densities for a location like this. But they were able to do that, I think, based on the great planning that this team did. So you have homes ranging all the way up to 5,600 square feet. Again, a wide range and price points going up to 1,000,000 too, and a fairly good location for this area. So overall, proximity to great employment areas. There's a lot of change with some of the commuting that's actually going on there that's helped to support that. They have a great little farmers market there. Again, a really fun retail center that has all kinds of lifestyle. That's really the central hub to this. And they started with that versus doing that at build out. And it really paid off for them. Product types, again, very, very dense, sitting in and around the retail center and some of the core areas. Even on the active adult side, um, you'll see Van Meter that has some attached products with elevators. And they've really pushed the density and overall performing very, very well. Number two, Potomac Shores. You're going to see over 3,200 homes. There is no active adult here. We've got home sizes ranging from 1,400 to almost 600,000 or 6,000. And then prices ranging up to 1,000,000. Fantastic location here. It's really got a fun orientation to the water and little bodies of water throughout. You've got golf in this community. And again, it's an affordable destination location for sure. You'll see price points range from the fours all the way up to 800,000, just 800,000, but a nice variety of product here. Number three, we've got St. Charles coming in with almost 25,000 homes here. So a very large master plan, variety of product of attached and detached. It's been open since 1970. So it's been around for quite some time. And again, a nice variety of products. Affordable price points overall. Again, I think it's the large draw here. You've got some really nice family amenities that have been established, have been sitting here for quite some time. And again, only three products here by Lennar, with overall a very affordable price point ranging in the high threes to the low fives. Moving to the Midwest, again, I think one of the biggest missed markets. So I'm going to show you some slides on this because I do think it's a missed market. Tim, we've talked about that before. But the top three here, again, they're not ranking terribly high. So we're at 192, 293, 371, but they become the top three for the Midwest. And frankly, there's just not a lot in the Midwest, but we definitely want to focus on who's really taking it to the top, and that is these three: Jerome Village, Shaker Run, and Cambridge Lakes. So if we look at Cambridge Lakes, almost 5,000 homes. They've been open since 2005. But look at these price points: 150,000 to just under 500,000. So quite a wide variety. Pools, lakes, and as you know, there's a lot of lakes and different choices like this sitting in and around there. But a really nice family lifestyle. And we're starting to see this market really come into its own as far as sales performance. It took this market quite a while, I think, to catch back up, and it's finally into its groove. So again, you've got four different product types. I would say, given how big this community is, it's got room for more segmentation and certainly can continue to push absorptions over time. Number two is Shaker Run. You've got just over 1,100 homes here, attached and detached. Again, very similar golf, water, pool amenities. And overall, when you look at the product types, you're looking at 5 different product types, all by Fisher. And these are largely under 3,000 square feet. Again, looking at those price points in some of the plays, definitely some room for more segmentation that could help push absorption. Number three, Jerome Village. You've got just under 3,000 homes, and you've largely all detached, quite a range of home sizes from 1,400 to over 4,000. And you can see some fun play on the agrarian area, a little bit of a body of water, some modest amenities. But overall, you can see the price play between Fisher, Rockford, and Pulte. You'll actually see those price plays under $750,000 in price, but cute houses. I mean, they look great. Now moving over to the Northwest. These three largely we're looking at Washington and we're looking at Oregon. So we don't really track Montana, Wyoming. So this looks like a much bigger map than it really is, but we're really looking at Washington and Oregon. Number one is River Terrace. Number two is Reed's Crossing. And number three is Tahali. And Holly is getting to a place of build out. And part of that is why their absorptions are coming down. Overall, when we look at River Terrace, there's about 7,000 homes planned there with attached and detached, quite a wide variety. You'll actually see they've got attainable pricing starting in the 300s. It's not that close to Portland, so it's definitely, again, an affordable play for the area. Central Park, lots of green, lots of trees, and oriented to young families. So you can see there's overall 6 different builders here, prices ranging from the high threes to the mid nines with quite a wide variety. Number two, Reed's Crossing. Again, you've got over 5,000 homes here. This one's been out there for a while, since 2019. You've got price points in the 4 to 5s, and for this area, again, very affordable. It's definitely family oriented, very beautifully designed, lots of trail systems throughout, green, interesting amenities, and really connecting with that indoor outdoor living. You'll see price points ranging very closely together, in the 4s to largely the 600,000, but definitely price points up to and almost at 900,000 as well. I think there's some room for segmentation on that one too. Looking at Holly, you've got over 14,000 homes planned here, one of the largest master plans in the area. Newland, now Brookville, did a really good job, I think, of planning this with a lot of variety and placemaking throughout. You've got attached and detached, a wide variety of product types. You've got active adults, you've got conventional here, and prices range from the 260 to over $1,300,000. But overall, they did a really interesting job. Trilogy did, with their active adult amenity and all that they're offering there, and that has sold really well. And then you run over to the conventional side, and again, a nice variety of builders and product types, with some really great surrounds. You can see what's left there today, and overall, Seattle actually got hit kind of hard. I would say one of the hardest and one of the first to get hit in the country. And I think that market is still recovering just a little bit from how hard it was hit. So now, as we're wrapping up and we look at the national view of this, you can actually see the number of actively selling master plans by region. Again, it's Texas is number one, followed by the Southwest, and then comes in Florida. And you can see that across there. And this is just based on the number of active MPCs. The poor Midwest only has 9. Part of that is, I think, where the development's happening, but I do think that there's an opportunity there, and we'll talk a little bit about that here shortly. The top 3 master plans by region, now you can see it all together. So if you want one view of who those top 3 are by region, this is your slide. And this is based on performance. Again, it's that blend of sales, starts, and closings. When we look at just sales, it doesn't look terribly different, but it is a little bit different. So when we compare those, you can see top sales and top performance. If you didn't make the top three and you felt like you should have just based on sales, you can see your numbers actually here and how we're tracking that. And by the way, we really rely on your involvement in everything we do. So we're tracking your project level data, your master plan data. Please respond to our outreach. I reach out to most of you guys every quarter to make sure we're hearing from you and we're getting all of that right. And we're basically just validating what the project level data is and rolling that up and making sure we're on track with you and we're in sync and we're talking. So the future of master plan. This is our final section. Thank you guys for hanging in there. We have 77 planned master plans coming. None are in the Northwest or the Midwest. So you can see a big theme here. We have a lot coming to Texas and the Southwest, where a lot of those master plans are today. More coming to Florida, and a lot more coming, as you can see, over to California in Northern Cal and Southern Cal. So you can see how those units are. Green represents master plans with 2,500 homes or less. Then the blue is 2,500 to 5,000. The purple is the 5,000 to 10,000. And then you'll see we have a couple of really big ones that are 10,000 plus that are coming up in the Southwest. So hopefully that's kind of interesting to you. We have 12 master plans with 5,000 plus units. So you can see where those are coming. Again, all sitting there largely in the Texas, Southwest, and Northern California markets, which I find that pretty interesting. But the part I find also interesting is if you look at where the money is, and we look at median net worth by state. This is why I was telling you, Tim, on Builder 100. I look at Minnesota and it's a head scratcher for me. There's a lot of money up there. Everybody knows there's lots of money in the Northeast, and they're traveling down to the Carolinas and Florida and really driving a lot of that growth. And I know a lot of the wealth from Minnesota is coming to Florida as well, and the Carolinas. But I do think there's an opportunity there in Minnesota should someone want to take it. If we look at Seattle, interestingly enough, a lot of net worth in the Gen Y, a lot of millennials with money in Seattle, same thing in Denver, and also in Salt Lake. So just interesting to look at some of the opportunities as we go forward. And that's why I continue to look to some of these markets and go, I think there's a huge opportunity, despite the level of snow. I get it. So, Tim, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to talk about it. We do have the next quarterly MPC coming. Before I turn this over to you, I really want to focus on the top developers that are out there and how do they link together with all these geographies? What are their strategies? So that's going to be our next one, along with the fact that we're going to continue to report on that horse race. And then we'd also love you to join with Future Place. But I'm going to turn it back over to you, Tim, for a wrap up.
You got it, Mal. And you started with something that's important for everyone to know that we are watching like a hawk, and that is sales, starts, closings. And Molly made the comment that in some of our markets, we are in a position where we're starting more homes than we're selling. That's okay, as long as it doesn't get too out of whack. We track that from a lot standpoint. We track that from a QMI, which is right now, by the way, about 1.5 months of supply nationwide for homes that are built and unsold. That's healthy. But if it goes
That's
higher,
very healthy.
yep, if it goes higher and higher, guys, we got our fingers on that pulse. And Molly, I'm glad you brought up the Midwest. I've got two questions for you at the end, but this is the lead in. I'm glad you mentioned Midwest because we're seeing an increased focus there for very fundamental reasons. Number one, relative affordability. Number two, Molly showed a very important thing about wealth. There is wealth there. And my family's from the Midwest, and they, except for my immediate family, everyone has stayed, and they've stayed because their life is there. And so when you start to think about other choices and bringing in new development, Molly, I love the fact that we highlighted the Midwest and the Northwest, because the problem with the Northwest truly is land, not so much in the Midwest. I think we're going to see some evolution
And
there.
it's hard to develop there too, Tim. The entitlement
In the
Seattle is
Northwest, yes,
yes.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now, Molly, we had a really cool suggestion from one of our listeners that said, hey, these are really cool products, but can you guys also overlay taxes and HOAs so we can see the relative payment. So that's something for us to do either in our next one
Point.
or follow-up. And I like that because it leads into my first question for you. And
Yeah.
when you look at Florida and Texas, they've been the stalwarts for new housing this last 5, 6 years. There's a chink in the armor there. There's a little bit of a crack in the plaster with insurance rates going up and taxes increasing. Give us what you've seen on the ground in Florida and Texas, some local color about how the market's changing, what we should pay attention to, and maybe some of the fundamentals that will hold up.
Sure. And everybody knows that the tax rate is a much bigger issue in Texas, right? So you're looking at 3% on the whole. But I will tell you in Texas and Florida, the HOAs are ridiculously low for what you get. So that's one of the benefits where when you compare that to other markets like California and things like that. So the migration moving there, I don't disagree with that person's point, which is, hey, your prices are affordable, but when you look at your tax rate, I mean, multiply that by 3, and that's a pretty big deal. So it does impact it, but it certainly isn't impacting the migration. And so many people are going there to get that quality of life, very family oriented. So for for Florida, it's largely migration of people retiring. And if you look at the demographics for boomers today, Tim, and we're constantly tracking this, that's what's really driving the Florida market is it's a huge migration of boomers cashing out and finding homes from California to Minnesota to the Northeast, driving into that market, looking to cash out net worth. And so certainly there's a local move up growth like Welland Park. One of the big things about Welland Park and their growth is they shifted from 85% active adult to a really nice balance of not just active adult, but family. And they consciously went after that deliberately with their planning, orientation to schools and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
uh, it's really interesting. I mean, I could go on and on about Florida and Texas. I hope that answered your question, though.
It did. Last question, and we've got about 30 seconds. Well, we had a question that's pretty straightforward. What defines a master plan? So, from your standpoint,
Good
what
question.
defines a master plan?
So we track master plans very deliberately based on their size. So part of it has to do with the size of homes, right? The other part that we're looking at is, it has to have amenities of some sort, right? So there has to be a cohesive, knitted together story. It's not just land that's being, doled out and sold off without sort of an amenity and a core place for it. So I think it's placemaking. I would tell you some of them, as you could see, had a lot less segmentation than others, but I think you also can see those that had more segmentation. And even in those middle price point markets, I think you can do a lot of segmentation that's lifestyle, life stage, and product types that it just isn't happening that I think would give them more activity. And again, I hope I answered your question, but it's
Yep. Well,
placemaking and product segmentation.
and I'll jump on it too, and I'll say that it's multiple land uses with multiple products with a cohesive community branding. There you have it.
Nicely said, Tim.
Well
As
said. All
always.
right. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for staying with us. Note on the screen that we've got our second quarter update and top developers next get together. And as Molly said, we need your input, and both for questions and for validating our information. So please work with us. We're grateful for you guys being here, and we appreciate you attending. So take care and have a great weekend. Happy
Thanks, everyone.
Happy Memorial Day. Take care. Thanks, Bob. Bye.
You bet.